I'm Dr. Dan from Vitamin Pro, and this is the second installment of vitamin and supplement safety. Now, the first one, which I did about a week ago, we talked about vitamin E and prostate cancer and the reported increased risk in prostate cancer if you take that. But they weren't even using real vitamin E, they were using synthetic form, and there are lots of articles that show that vitamin E can actually be cancer protective, so don't worry about taking real good vitamin E from a reputable source. It's going to be okay. Now, part two of this has to do with fish oils, and so they're sounding the alarm that fish oils are bad, and here's some of the headlines. Hold the salmon, omega-3 fatty acids linked to higher risk of cancer, Time magazine. Omega-3 fatty acids taken by millions linked to aggressive prostate cancer, Huffington Post. Link between omega-3 fatty acids and increased prostate cancer risk, Science Daily. And of course I can go on all day with those, that gives you an idea. Now this all comes from the National Cancer Institute publication, July 2013. And so here you've got these reputable sources with National Cancer Institute. I mean, that sounds pretty ominous. But let's look at the study. It turns out that it's pretty ridiculous. Now, if you were going to do a study on prostate cancer and supplementation, you might want to know three things. Number one is, was supplementation used or not? And if it was, how much were they taking? And what was the source? Now, this study, which I dignify by calling a study, it really isn't, tested none of those things. There was no data gathered to know whether any of these people took any fish oil or not. None. And so what they're looking at is one of the essential fatty acids called DHA. Now, and so you'd think that, oh well, at least they measured the DHA, but guess what? They didn't. They measured the fatty acids in the blood, and they implied that a certain percentage of those was DHA. So now you've got this thing is so nebulous, it's incredible, but now they're singling out DHA as the culprit here. Now let's look at a couple of other factors. Number one, 53% of the subjects with prostate cancer were smokers. 80% of those were overweight or obese, and 64% were regular alcohol consumers. So do you think those factors have anything to do with the risk of prostate cancer? Well, those weren't even mentioned in the conclusions of this article. And basically, Bob Roundtree, a medical doctor, said, considering the extensive body of literature that supports the anti-inflammatory effects of omega-3 fatty acids, there is no mechanism that would explain this. And so in other words, he said, this doesn't make any sense at all, which I agree. So from what we know, omega-3 fatty acids are safe. There are thousands of studies that show that, and it's better than safe. It's anti-inflammatory, has many health benefits, and there have been pointed studies to check on its effects on prostate cancer, and they found that people taking omega-3 fatty acids had far less spread of that prostate cancer than people who weren't. So also, you should know that Nordic Naturals monitors their populations of fish, and you can take your essential fatty acids, your fish oils, without worrying about depleting the ocean's fish, because these populations are sustainable. The second thing, wild salmon has 2 to 3 times as much EPA and DHA, or essential fatty acids, as farm salmon. So choose the fresh, the fresh or the good sources of wild salmon, and remember to ask when you go out to eat too. You want your salmon salad or whatever. That's one thing that people don't do. They don't remember to ask that question. So anyway, not to worry. Fish oils are okay. This says this study has no credibility whatsoever. So thanks a lot for listening.